Hello and welcome back. We're moving into another self-management strategy, and probably the most important one, because this is the one that gives the other leg traction in your life. You'll remember that I said self-esteem and a healthy self-concept is built on the ability to say two things: I am loved and I am competent. I am loved and I am competent. Last time we spoke about affirmations, which are ways of reassuring the inner child in you: you are loved, you are meaningful, you matter, your life has purpose. The other one is going to be answered by this exercise that we're going to be doing today, which is I am competent. And so let's talk about why we should set goals. First of all, because they inspire vision and desire. Because your goals are unique to you, and therefore you affirm your own uniqueness by taking charge and setting your goals. Goals are the things that make your dreams believable. They take them out of the realm of the would be nice if, and they say, I am going to. They instill courage to grow. And they are the things that actually give your life flavor and excitement. They give you a foretaste of your potential. Here's the thing that you can believe about yourself. It's something I often say to clients: what you have done, you can do plus. And so when you achieve a small thing that you've been procrastinating or being hesitating about, it tells you, I can do more than that. And so it gives you a foretaste of that potential. Goals are the things that define your success. Here's a definition of success that I learned from a man called Paul J. Meyer back in the 1980s. And it is this. He said, success is the achievement of predetermined, personal, and worthwhile goals. The continuing, ongoing achievement of goals is the thing that gives you a feeling of continual, ongoing success. And so goals give substance to that statement: I am competent. How do I know that I'm competent? Because I achieve my goals. Think about a soccer player, if I may, for a moment. If a player gets onto a field, the whole team gets onto the field, and there's the other team there, and the referee blows the whistle and they start the game. But then the referee stops the game, and two teams of workmen come onto the field and remove the goalposts. And then the referee blows the whistle and says, continue. How soon will those players lose interest in the game? Many times we live our lives like that. We live our lives with no goalposts. We live our lives thinking, as we put our head on the pillow at night, did I win or did I lose? Did I score what I needed to score in this day or not? And so goals keep us focused on those things that we are meant to achieve. They build our belief in our dreams, and they build endurance. On the screen now and in your notes, you will have this diagram, which is called the Wheel of Life. It's my own adaptation of something that I also learned in 1985 from Paul J. Meyer. And it represents the 8 spokes of the Wheel of Life, represent the different aspects or areas of our lives. And you'll see them on your screen: intellectual, spiritual, financial, career, cultural, family, social, and physical. And as you look at that, I want you to do this little exercise, not right away, you can maybe do it afterwards, but it asks these questions. What are the values that I hold to in this area of my life? Am I aware of them? Secondly, what priority does this value have for me in my order of values? Thirdly, have I translated those values and priorities into goals? We'll talk in a moment about what the difference is, but have I done so? And number 4, do I have a plan of action to achieve my goals in this area? And lastly, how well am I sticking to the plan to achieve the goals. The point of this exercise is to find out whether your wheel is balanced. It doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't matter whether the goals are for great things to be achieved or simply for coping with the life that you are engaged in at the moment. The person of self-worth has goals of equal import in every area of their lives. If you see a wheel that is out of balance, it becomes important to review your goals and to get focused on restoring the balance by focusing on that area for a moment. A good goal also needs to be SMART. You will have maybe come across this acronym in other contexts, and I must say here that mine are a little different from the way most people use them. So you can use their one if you prefer, but this is mine. It must be, first of all, S for stretching. It must take you beyond what you are achieving every day anyway. It needs to stretch you into a growth process. Second of all, it must be measurable. That means well-defined, quantifiable, specific. Thirdly, it must be achievable or realistic. That is to say, don't give yourself a goal that even as you begin to imagine it, like people saying, I want to achieve peace on earth in my lifetime. As soon as you say that, you go, oh my goodness, how will anybody ever achieve that? And so it needs to be achievable. It needs to be recorded, R for recorded, which is another way of saying write it down. Written goals are defined goals. Defined goals are real goals. And so if you don't write it, you're still just imagining. You're still just dreaming. And so first and foremost, write it down. And then lastly, T stands for time related. It needs to have a set date for achievement. So I want to encourage you on that basis to identify a goal for the next 3 months in each of the 8 areas of your life and articulate the goal clearly. Make sure that it covers all of the letters SMART, and it really is answering the question, what would I like to see change in my life? How and by when? These are the 8 areas again, just to remind you. And if you think about them and think about what are you doing with regard to those areas and then translate those into goals. But beyond the SMART acronym, goals also need to fulfill these criteria. In my view, they need to be God-given. In other words, they need to fulfill the understanding of your origin and your accountability when it comes to the spiritual life that drives everything about you. Second of all, they need to be personal. Don't take on other people's goals for you, but define your own. They need to be progressive. That means they have stages of unfolding and achievement. They need to be predetermined, not like the guy who fired the arrow into the side of the barn and then went and painted the bullseye around the arrow afterwards. Predetermine what you want to see happen. And they need to be internal. They need to have an internal aspect. In other words, you need to grow in accordance with the goals you want to achieve. Many people who have, for example, succeeded greatly by hitting the jackpot, by winning the lottery, have lost the same amount of money and in fact more than that in 6 months after they have won it. Why? Because they didn't grow in accordance with their sudden riches. And so they were unable to manage it. And of course, goals need to be positive. The difference between a goal and a dream is that a goal includes a plan of action for achievement. So, to create a plan, ask yourself these questions. What is my starting point in regard to this area? What have I achieved before, up until this point? What strengths do I bring to this moment and to this challenge? Secondly, what emotion or mood or hijack prevents or could prevent me from making progress? In other words, internal obstacles. Thirdly, what other obstacles, external, real or potential, stand between me and the achievement of this goal? Fourthly, what small steps do I need to take daily, weekly, and monthly in order to achieve it? Break the big goal down into bite-sized chunks, digestible bits that you can take on, whether daily, weekly, monthly, etc. And then, very importantly, you'll see another chart that is in the notes, which is a weekly planner. You need a time slot for everything that you're going to be working on. What time slots have you allocated on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis for the achievement of the goal that you have identified? Then I want to encourage you to build some support structures around yourself for the achievement of your goals. Firstly, writing down the names of 3 people that you most admire for their self-awareness, their self-management, their poise in life. Decide on 1 or 2 of those to whom you want to make yourself accountable for your progress. Accountability partners. Thirdly, ask them to help you to review your progress and set dates and times for those reviews. And then move into self-management. Self-management is something that you think about ahead of time. You have a plan for how you're going to achieve self-management, and then you move into doing. And so here are some daily drills. Manage your time, always having your holistic priorities in mind. Include all of the areas. And then keep in mind the things that we've already spoken about, which I've called self-management strategies. I find it's a good practice to, for example, tackle some things that you've been procrastinating as a starting exercise. It's like lifting the lighter weights before you start taking on the heavier ones. Give up on multitasking. It's not possible to multitask, especially when it comes to things that are really important in your life. When things get intense, practice a time-out strategy. Time when, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, that you can actually just get away and go and be in nature and relax, so that you're not at a frenetic pace in trying to achieve everything you want on a daily or weekly basis. And then remember those other self-management strategies that we spoke about in a previous session, like regular journaling. If you're anxious, if you're worried, worry is framed in words. Therefore, the way to process worry is through words, through writing. The other thing to do is practice visualizing on a daily basis. Visualize your day before you enter it. Think about who you're going to be seeing, where you're going to be going, what challenges are ahead of you, and visualize yourself moving into that with confidence, strength, poise, and control. You see, depression is pictorial, where anxiety is verbal, depression is pictorial. So crowd out negative images that come at you, that haunt you, with positive ones. Very importantly, the next daily drill is celebrate your wins. When you have achieved, celebrate with someone, whether it's you sharing it with a friend, having a glass of wine with them, in some way celebrating the wins that you have accomplished on a regular basis. And then recharge daily. How do you recharge? You recharge your batteries either by laughter, by sharing good, hearty laughter and positive social engagement with someone, or you recharge by feeding yourself with strong, inspiring information. And lastly, where necessary, learn from a mentor or coach. Call on someone who will be able to talk you through and give you the proverbial shoulder massage before you go into the ring for another round. And remember this, Winston Churchill said these words: success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. From these expressions, we get the encouragement to continue on a positive line of accomplishment. There are some things that people think help, but they really don't. So, for example, just letting things be. Passivity only makes things worse. Every system left to itself will tend to greater and greater disorder. And so our God-given right and responsibility is to take charge and to build those things into an orderly system and structure. A good cry, a lot of people say just have a good cry about it and you'll feel better in the morning. The fact is that that is a myth. Crying makes things worse. It doesn't make them better. Television is not a good way to get out of things like depression. TV exacerbates depression unless you're watching just comedy. Venting increases anger. It doesn't dispel it. And so don't vent, ventilate. Give it language so that you can once again be taking charge of those feelings. And lastly, withdrawal is not a good strategy either. You can't do this alone. You're going to need that support team that I spoke about. You're possibly going to need a coach who will come alongside and encourage you and strengthen you for the journey. And so I hope that you have taken note of some of these things where they fit your situation and that you will put into practice the ones that really help. And so until next time, cheers.